Lightning-fast hand speed is only one component of fighting. The foundation for all sports is balance. So centuries ago, martial artists began to study one of the animal kingdom's most famous balancing acts, the crane.
The crane. Balance. Grace. Evasion.
Now, fight science will test this legendary style to see if a martial artist can maintain crane-like balance while evading attack. Stepping up to the challenge is fight science veteran Glenn Levy. He's a martial arts instructor, stuntman, and fight coordinator. Glenn will try to emulate the crane, a bird which has specialized spinal fluid to monitor balance, allowing it to effortlessly stand on one leg for hours at a time. Humans lack these specialized features, so Glenn will have to rely on his martial arts training. To test Glenn's balance, we've constructed this set of steel poles, 2.5 inches in diameter each, capped with an 8-inch wide pedestal. That's smaller than a dinner plate. These are called plum flower poles, a classic training tool used by martial artists to develop balance and focus.
So I have some pressure sensor pads that I'm going to put inside Glenn's shoes. And what this is going to tell us is exactly how he's balancing and how he moves and kind of changes that center of gravity.
These sensors take hundreds of pressure measurements per second. This will allow us to map precisely how his weight is distributed. These poles will test Glenn's balance. Now, to test his focus, we'll throw in a dangerous distraction.
And we're actually going to make it a little more difficult.
Okay.
We're going to have an opponent, and he's going to be throwing ninja stars at you.
Taffin Hung has extensive training with numerous martial arts weapons. He'll be trying to knock Glenn off balance with a barrage of ninja stars. The edges of the stars have been dulled for safety, but they can still hurt.
The test isn't just a physical or physiological test, it's also a psychological test, because that part of the brain to keep your balance is now having to think about things coming towards you and deal with the stress of that.
Can this martial arts master do justice to a real crane on increasingly higher poles while under attack?
Glenn, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, begin.
Crane-style kung fu fighters are legendary for maintaining perfect balance even while evading lethal attacks. Fight Science is testing this legend by challenging martial artist Glenn Levy to balance on plum flower poles while avoiding an onslaught of flying ninja stars. Can he really maintain his balance like a crane?
Glenn, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, begin. Good job, Glenn.
Yes.
Just 2 feet off the ground, Glenn has no difficulty maintaining his balance under fire.
We're going to move you up to 4 feet now. How does that feel in comparison?
It's a lot more wobbly.
This added instability makes the test more difficult. The sensors in Glenn's shoes will reveal his weight distribution as he shifts his center of balance.
Our equipment is actually measuring the distribution of his force, how he shifts his center of gravity as he dodges the ninja stars. 3, 2, 1, begin. And we're done.
Even though Glenn is making dramatic movements with his upper body, the foot sensors show that his center of gravity does not change significantly. He has the exceptional ability to interpret multiple stimuli and automatically fire precise muscle contractions to counter any movement.
Okay, Glenn, great job at 4 feet. So go ahead and move up to the next platform. Okay.
The next pole he tackles has significantly more sway. Now 6 feet off the ground, nerves could start to play more of a factor.
3, 2, 1, begin. We're done.
In spite of the barrage of stars, Glenn's crane technique holds up.
There was a moment there where everything kind of slowed down, and it was that whole Matrix moment where I relaxed into it to just get out of the way, and actually I found myself kind of watching it go past, and like it was like living a movie.
Motion capture animation reveals the secret of Glenn's extraordinary balance. Our center of gravity is the point in our torso from which all of our mass is evenly distributed, typically just below the navel. To maintain balance, we must keep that center of gravity precisely positioned above what is called our base of support. For Glenn, that's his 1 foot. Like a crane's powerful leg, muscles and tendons provide force to stabilize the bones as they sway into balance postures. To avoid a throwing star, he has to duck and move his head, shoulders, and upper torso to the left, which redistributes his mass. To compensate, he moves roughly 20% of his body, his right leg, up and to the right. Through training, he's made the process nearly automatic. But will his crane technique hold up on the peak platform, the dangerously high 8-foot pole? For this test, he will use 2 feet.
Okay, Glenn, so are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Simply standing on the 8-foot pole requires intense concentration. But balance is best without intensity. We're most stable when our muscles and tendons are relaxed. If he tenses up, he'll fall. It's the ultimate test of both Glenn's balance and focus.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Amazingly, at 8 feet, Glenn performs his crane style flawlessly and never loses his balance.
As Glenn went higher and higher and higher, it became exponentially harder. And what I noticed in terms of the pressure sensors that we had in his feet is that when he got to the top, he would do this motion with his feet where his center of gravity would just kind of rotate about 1 point.
This is a key secret of balance. Rigidity does not work. Constant, tiny adjustments are vital. But it was even more difficult than Glenn expected.
It's actually really hard to keep your muscles firing without all the lactic acid burning up. And by the time I'd got to the very top pole, I had already reached a state where my body was a little bit fatigued.
Glenn has passed the balance test, but crane-style kung fu also packs a powerful surprise. These fighters may be masters when it comes to evading attacks, but they're also legendary for counter-striking with a single deadly blow. A real crane strikes with its beak and wings, so we want to test the power of a crane-style wing strike.
Cranes' arms or their wings are their powerhouses. They're the things that get them off the ground.
Most crane species have special pigmentation in their feathers that actually strengthens their wings. To test the power of Glenn's crane strike, Fight Science pits him against an icy adversary. Although Glenn has studied Kung Fu, he's never used the crane style to break something, much less shatter 2 60-pound blocks of ice. This large tech scan pad measures impact, and it will reveal exactly how much force Glenn's wing strike generates.
Okay, Glenn, you ready?
Ready.
Will his training enable him to break the ice? or will the ice break him?
3, 2, 1, strike.
Martial artist Glenn Levy has already demonstrated the secrets of balance revealed by crane-style kung fu. But in a fight, the best defense is sometimes a good offense. Can the crane style's wing strike dish out as much damage as it can dodge? Glenn will try to smash through 120 pounds of solid ice with a crane style wing strike, a feat he's never attempted before.
There's always going to be that small amount of doubt that comes in at any stage, and that's why it's very important to spend a little bit of time beforehand really focusing and getting rid of everything else.
Ice is an unpredictable material and very hard to break, and as it melts, it actually gets denser. The science team holds a sensor on the surface of the ice to measure the force of Glenn's strike.
Okay, Glenn, you ready? Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, strike.
Yeah. Wow.
Good job.
That's some tough ice.
The sensors revealed that Glenn crashes through the blocks of ice with 1,500 pounds of force. His crane-style wing strike is equivalent to a baseball bat swinging at 112 miles an hour. A blow like this delivered to the head could be fatal. How did Glenn generate this power? Motion capture technology reveals the secrets of his crane-style strike. As Glenn prepares to strike, his body releases adrenaline, which increases the heart rate, pumping oxygenated blood to the extremities. He raises up on his toes, drawing energy from the ground. He rocks his body weight upward, creating potential energy, which becomes kinetic as he launches downward. Glenn then rotates his shoulder like a crane's wing, turning relatively slow vertical motion into lightning-fast rotational speed. All of his force is concentrated on the end of his humerus, the heaviest bone in his upper body. The results are shattering.
This is the first time I've broken through ice. It's probably the first time I've broken through anything, so I'm happy with the results.
Glenn Levy has demonstrated that crane-style kung fu not only excels in the art of balance and evasion, but it can also end a fight with a single lethal blow.